The Impact One Person Can Have by Jose Arguelles. In the art piece Portrait of Norman, created by Suzanne Harris, you would see a detailed image of a pyramid alongside a $1 bill. While this may look like just a simple picture of a pyramid at first glance, the title of this exhibit may change your perception of what the message of this piece is about. The piece, being titled Portrait of Norman, is about Norman Fisher, who is of course not a pyramid, so the point of the picture and what it represents of Norman Fisher is central to understanding it. Fisher was very famous for bringing together many different types of artists to his house. On any given day, artists of contrasting genres and lifestyles would be found, as he was considered someone who truly appreciated art and the creative spirit of the times. Despite not being very rich and having just a modest apartment in Manhattan, Fisher was able to meet and influence many important artists because of his constant friendship and support of them. This being especially true during the time period of the 1970s, where the boundaries of art were being tested as the contrast between art styles like performing arts and visual arts allowed for brand new creative leaders to form and express their ideas. Harris was likely one such person who was influenced by Fisher's actions and considered him a very important friend and ally to her own success as an artist, so this piece was made to represent an important aspect about Fisher. One thing to note about this piece is that the dollar bill shown below the photo, it is placed on its backside with a piece of glass placed on the Great Seal, which depicts a pyramid with a floating triangle that shows the Eye of Providence on top. This is a standard design for the $1 bill in the United States, and the eye has been a part of it for many centuries, being part of the dollar bills in 1782 when it was officially adopted. The symbol is used to represent God overseeing the future of the United States and making sure the country continues to grow, thereby ensuring its prosperity. It is clear this pyramid and the Eye of Providence on top of it is what Harris sees as Norman. The glass on top of the dollar bill acts as a magnifying glass for the pyramid, likely used by Harris to show that the photo on top is supposed to be an in-depth portrait of the one on the dollar bill. If the pyramid is supposed to be Norman, then Harris, using the magnifying glass, could imply that she greatly respects Norman Fisher and wanted to get all the details of his face accurate, which is why she's using the magnifying glass to see and translate his features over to the new photo, much like how someone would try to recreate smaller details of a person's face. How the moles and wrinkles match up on a person's forehead, how deep certain scars appear on their skin, or how light reflects off the irises of their eyes in a portrait shows how the artist felt about the subject they were replicating. The pyramid in the photo is very detailed. If you look closely, you can make out nearly every brick that composes the front side of the pyramid we see. However, one aspect of the dollar bill is missing, that being the Eye of Providence. If the eye was meant to be the main focus as part of the Great Seal on the dollar bill, then what was Harris intending by making the portrait be a detailed version of the photo from the dollar bill, and why is the key feature from it missing? Since we have established that Harris created a connection between Fisher and the Eye of Providence, now we should understand why Harris sees Fisher as a godlike figure. Fisher was a huge inspiration artist, someone who could appreciate the intricacies of an experimental era of art, when most people were just comfortable with safe art styles instead of ones that could excite and get people to think. People were becoming more skeptical over political scandals like Watergate breaking the trust the nation had in their leaders, which in turn would create new ideas to express through the different mediums of art available at the time. Since Fisher was willing to experiment to support new ideas alongside his nature of supporting new upcoming artists, would make Harris see him as someone special among the field of art, special among even the most creative people in the world. That is why the eye does not appear in the top photo, because Harris views Fisher as someone who is so abstract in the world of art that he cannot be nailed down in a photograph, much like God in the Bible, who people understand through aspects like the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The art shift of the 1970s represents a great cultural shift in American history, and how people could be profoundly impacted by their environment. This piece, and the others in this exhibit, are proof of the effect one person can have on others, especially in the ever-changing art world.
Hello, my name is Javion Irving. I chose the Portrait of Norman because I think it can symbolize a lot of stuff that correlates in our society today, as well as how it affects people's feelings. In the first glance at the portrait, you notice a dollar bill as well as a pyramid. The pyramid with a drawn eye could be interpreted as an all-seeing eye, which means that someone is watching every time a person spends money. Recently, however, it has been correlated with the Illuminati. a group that is largely responsible for overseeing what people do and the latest trends in the world. As a result, people tend to think that higher-up billionaires are the ones pulling the strings in the world and that everyone else is a puppet to be used and used to support their agendas. Hollywood actors and different rap artists who have achieved success in the billions are the most common subjects of this type of assumption. Nevertheless, Suzanne Harris does not seem to be attempting to convey that message through this portrait. In my opinion, she wants us to visualize ourselves in this place and visualize ourselves at the top of the world. People with money may think that they have made it if they get a large sum of money, but that is not always the case when we look at something like this portrait. If we do not analyze it ourselves and come to our conclusions about it, then we will be unable to know or understand what it means. She could be trying to point her finger at the fact that at the time of drawing this portrait, America was experiencing an economic slump similar to a recession. She can use the money as a symbol of this since money was hard to come by during those times. It is likely had a huge impact on her desire to draw and come up with different ideas. This painting speaks many different languages depending on the viewer's perspective. The drawing of the pyramid symbolizes it could be somewhere that she might have wanted to travel to. However, she was unable to do so because she did not have the necessary funds to travel there and experience this picture in its entirety. It may have been that she did visit the pyramids and thought that it was not worth the money, and it was not as impressive or fun as she might have expected. This portrait may be interpreted in numerous ways. Depending on who is viewing the portrait, different conclusions will be drawn, resulting in an additional analysis to obtain a better understanding of the pyramid on the $1 bill. It appears as if a magnifying glass has been placed on it, which indicates we should concentrate on that. As I mentioned earlier, the all-seeing eye is right there, and it sees everything you do no matter what you do. Also, money has an important role as what would be the purpose of adding the dollar if she did not wish us to view it. Suzanne is the only one who can determine what the eye signifies in the portrait, as it is an integral part of the portrait. A bridge separates the pyramid from the $1 bill, which may suggest that it will take her longer to encounter the pyramid if she has the money. Perhaps the $1 bill was in her life. As I started looking at this portrait some more, I noticed the pyramid is a very different color than what you would use if you were to see it in real life. But that could be some sort of symbolism to Suzanne as an artist. Further, considering the color choices may confuse you as to what motivated her to choose these specific colors if they are not tied to the way the item originally appeared. Overall, I think Suzanne painted a beautiful picture that could have many viewers in awe at how she chose to draw this portrait and the meaning behind the significance of the portrait. The questions that could be asked from a single drawing are astounding, and the significance that it holds could have many scholars studying to break down a single portrait, what made her draw it, and how she thought of it. While writing this essay, it genuinely made me think a lot about how the artist wanted the viewers to interpret the picture. There could be many interpretations to this essay. The pyramid has many things we could dissect from that alone, and when you add the money also, that adds a sense of knowledge, so you could dissect that also. The simple information could give you a better understanding on what she wanted us to realize when viewing her artwork.